Good morning, everyone. How are we feeling so far? It's day 2 of GX Australia. So this is the Fan Culture and Communities panel, which I'm apparently moderating, as I just discovered about 10 seconds ago. So I will quickly introduce myself if you don't already know who I am. My name is Joshua Meadows. I'm co-director for GX Australia, and a writer and a game developer and a journalist and a bunch of other things that don't fit on business cards easily. So I'll pass it down.
Hi, my name is Ken Wong, and I run a little studio in Melbourne called Mountains, and we're working on our first premium mobile game. You might know me as the lead designer of a game called Monument Valley. I was also the art director of a game called Alice Babbage Returns. It's me.
My name is Stephanie Bendixsen. You might know me as Hex. I hosted a show on the ABC called Good Game. And I can't really talk about what I'm doing now, but I'm here and I'm excited. Thanks for having me. Hey everyone, I'm Justine Colla. I'm the community manager at Surprise Attack Games in Melbourne, and on the side, I'm a not-so-secret pro wrestling fan at Pasta Saucer on Twitter, where I draw a lot of half-naked men and am very involved in the WWE and wrestling community.
Hey guys, my name's Kim. You might know me as Beauregard's replacement. I'm so sorry, she's lost her voice, and I'm actually sick myself. So you've got this to deal with. But basically, I'm a producer at a company called Defiant. We made a game called Hand of Fate. I'm currently working on Hand of Fate 2. And my passion project is a love and sex in games collective called Blushbox.
Cool. So a very awesome pedigree of gaming celebrities, from everything from television to development. So the fact of the matter is, all of you have had an interesting approach to how communities interact with you. Whether that's Hex's case is a very front and center personality, or Kin, where you've had, I guess, runaway success on a game, and the expectations that come from the people who put that onto you now that your game is very successful. All of you approach this from a different perspective, which I find very interesting, because you've all had different facets of interaction. So I guess I probably will start with the first question of when it comes to tempering expectations between being very public-facing or very out there, what are some challenges that you've experienced with that?
I guess for me, when I first started, it was a tricky time, because I took over the role from someone who did not leave voluntarily. So, and they had a really big fan following. And so that was tough, I was sort of the first woman on the show in a sort of major role. And I think there was this impression that I was just hired because the ABC wanted to try and sex it up or something, which I find so absurd, because that's not something I would associate with myself personally. But yeah, I think in the beginning I felt very much a sense of trying to prove myself in all the wrong ways. I didn't really feel like I could be myself as a person, because all I wanted to do was prove that I was legitimately a gamer, which I shouldn't have had to do, but that's what I felt like I was about in the beginning. And so a big part of the way I presented myself, I think, hid a lot of facets of my personality, because I was afraid that if people saw that I was interested in anything outside of, games, that I was somehow inauthentic. So that was tough to begin with, but I think over time, the more I sort of relaxed and opened up, the more I realized that a community really is, they're interested in you as a person and all facets of you. And I think the more that I've shared about myself and the things that I'm interested in, the more I've discovered that I've had in common with the people who watch the show. be that about different facets of video games or things outside of gaming as well. And I think that's been the most rewarding experience, is just, connecting with the community in a really wonderful way, and knowing that everyone kind of comes from different places and areas and has different reasons for loving things, and that's when you kind of find those moments where you get really kind of emotionally connected to people. So I think, it was difficult to begin with, but the more that I felt that I could just be myself, the better things got for me.
Can I just share some experiences I've had at actual trade shows?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't have a huge following, anything like that, but when I go to trade shows, similar to yourself, Hex, people sometimes make me feel like I have to prove that I'm interested in games. And I don't know why. My assumption is because of the way I look. I don't know. But one of the big challenges I've found is people come to see the game and play the game, but stay to try and get my phone number. That's happened a few times now, and it makes me feel really, really uncomfortable. So one of the things and challenges I face is having to try and regulate and mitigate any conversations that I feel are going that way, by raising like my own set of red flags and dialogue ready and prepared to combat stuff like that. When, for example, at PSX, which is PlayStation Experiences trade show, I had this one guy, while I was explaining the game, all he was doing was staring at me, and at the end of it, he asked for my phone number. And I said, it was the first time it happened to me, so I didn't know what to do. I smiled and said, sorry? And ever since then, I've had to actually try and develop the system of dealing with stuff like that, because it's the only way to do it. You don't want to offend your fans by any stretch at all, but you also want to make sure you establish those boundaries.
For me, I think the challenge was a personal one. About 6 years ago now, I had a really damaging experience where someone tried to humiliate me online. And when that happened, I just wanted to shut myself away and not put myself out there in an internet capacity at all. And it took probably about 4 years until I was put into a marketing position for work that I actually started to feel okay having my full name on my Twitter and putting my photo on my Twitter, and etc. And ever since I started doing that, I was very conscious about what I say, knowing that anyone can pull up a tweet or a photo at any time. But when I started actually putting myself out there, I was surprised by the positive reception that I was getting. I feel like, especially for things like Twitter, as soon as you're starting to eclipse maybe over like 5,000 followers, that's when you start getting some weird kind of comments that are coming in all the time. And I don't have that many, but I'm at almost 2,000 now, and sometimes there are some comments I'm getting on photos, and I'm like, I'm just not going to respond to that. But I think it's one thing to say that it's a difficulty being able to overcome the people themselves, but you also need to look at yourself as well and know that, like, what are you comfortable with sharing, and how are you comfortable interacting with the communities, if it's a personal one or in a professional sense. So there's always kind of like all different facets that you have to look at when interacting with communities.
As a man, my experience has been very different, I feel. I've been really fortunate to have been speaking publicly about games for the past 12 years. So like my first public speaking was at a university talking about concept art, and then over the years I've regularly had the opportunity to speak to students and fans and conferences. And I don't get approached the same way, and people haven't really questioned my ability, and it's the opposite. I've been encouraged every step of the way, even before I made successful games. And so when I finally made something that kind of was a big hit, it was actually right around the time of Gamergate, and it was a really good time to kind of take stock and look at what we could do with our voice. The fact that we were getting a lot of attention and there was a lot of opportunity to speak to audiences, and I think that's what prompted me and the rest of the team to try and have a positive impact, to speak out about issues that we cared about, both that we felt was in the game. You know, the game that we made had a female protagonist, we felt was a very inclusive game, and then also signal boost others. And I feel like that's been really rewarding. That's one of the things that keeps me interested in games, is like knowing that this can be a really inclusive community, and that's why we're here today.
In which ways have you all, I guess, self-censored yourselves for the sake of, because you can put in Twitter, opinions are my own as much as you want, but when shit hits the fan, particularly if you're a woman or a person of color, we only have to look at every time a Mass Effect game or BioWare does something that customers don't like, they start looking for which woman was involved in making this decision. So how do you feel pressured to, I guess, moderate your public appearance, even when it's technically your own personal time?
I think this is very relevant, particularly what's happened with Yasmin recently. I don't know if you guys have been following that. ABC presenter who made a comment on Anzac Day on Facebook, that has received a lot of backlash, and I think, it's difficult because I think the ABC stands for like, well, her opinions are her own, and I think it's when you're a public figure, you do have a sense. I think I've been fairly passive, just out of fear, I think, and recently, you know, I started to post a few just like political things on my Facebook fan page, which I don't normally do, and people were like, enough of the politics, just post about games. And I was like, this is my page, I'm gonna post what I want. But I think it really depends. One of the most interesting experiences I've had with censorship, I think, is that I had like a Tumblr, which, for those of you, I don't know if you've ever used Tumblr, but it's like, I just used it literally to just reblog pictures of forests and like game stuff and things that I liked. It was just a really kind of cathartic image dump. And I post a lot of pictures of women that I admire. Xena, you know, game characters that I like and stuff like that, and I would reblog all of these photos. And I started to get these like really persistent messages from this one particular user who had quite a strong religious agenda, and basically was trying to get me to confess to being a lesbian, and that I wasn't fit for television because of this, and that I, particularly on a children's show, which is a good game, Spawn Point at the time. And I just ignored it for a long time, and then one day, usually I say like don't feed the trolls and stuff, and I try not to, but on one particular day I was just like, enough. Because he wrote this long list of reasons why he thought that I was a lesbian, that he was like, this is proof. He was like, she has a very deep speaking voice. she posts lots of pictures of women, which I do, and also there's a lot of pictures of her with other women in very like close proximity.
Imagine caring that much.
I know, like it was like a long list as well, and I was like, look, and this was one of those moments where I normally don't talk about any of this stuff, and I didn't want to have to confirm or deny anything, because why should I have to? And I didn't want, if I said I was straight, I didn't want that to qualify the idea that being a lesbian was bad, and then I didn't want to have to admit to anything that I felt like was pandering to him also. So I kind of thought about it for ages, and like full disclosure, because this is the place to do it, I guess. Like I've been with both sexes, and I happen to be in a relationship with a man right now, but I think everything's great. And it was just one of those situations where I was like, is this a moment where I'm going to take a really public stance about it, or am I just going to ignore it and stuff like that? And in that moment, I didn't answer him directly, but I kind of wish I had, but I felt like I started to panic about the repercussions, and I think maybe his comments even about the children's show got into my mind, and I was like, what would the ABC, if this was like, you know, picked out and published, and you know, those like Daily Mail sites take things and repost them 100 times, and so I I think I censored myself in that situation because I didn't want to be open about it, but I think I kind of wish I had. That was a really long-winded, roundabout story.
For especially in the pro wrestling community, it overlaps a lot with the demographics of the game community. So there's a lot of, it's very kind of focused on males and especially white males. It has been for a long time. It's getting better. And they're starting to try and represent women, and not as models doing, I'm not even kidding you, bra and panty matches and mud matches on like WrestleMania, but actually calling them superstars and women. So it's been hard for some of the older Attitude Era fans to get their head around this, that, oh, I'm supposed to treat these women as, you know, actual performers and real wrestlers, not as this kind of eye candy, which was what they were supposed to be from before. And that means that as my fandom grows and I'm becoming more of a prevalent voice in the pro wrestling community, I'm starting to get more of these, it's kind of expanding out of the little niche, safe following that I've had, and I'm starting to get things where I have to be careful if I post any kind of comment that would enrage a gaming gay person, enrages the same kind of fan that might be in the pro wrestling community. And I was so silly that, well, it wasn't silly, it shouldn't have been anything, but there was a pro wrestler by the name of Alexa Bliss. She posted a photo of herself on Instagram, and she just had very natural makeup on and false lashes, and there was a comment from one of the fans that just said, "You look so much better without makeup. You should wear not makeup like all the time." And I just screenshotted it, and I was just like, "Men are insufferable." And I had to mute that particular tweet because I got so many quote retweets from all these random guys that were like, "He was giving her a compliment and blah blah blah." And I'm like, she's like, for starters, she doesn't need your validation if she wears makeup or not. And secondly, she was wearing makeup, you idiot. And I was like, okay, it's really hard because even that comment, it was just a general, oh, this is so frustrating comment. I wasn't even cutting anyone down at all, but like, that's the comment that everyone gets upset about. So I feel like I have to kind of police myself a bit if I don't want to become a controversial fan or female feminist fan of pro wrestling.
Well, from a developer's point of view at Defiant, one of the ways that we've moderated our own, behavior is because we're behind a brand. It's not about me personally and how I project myself personally online. That is an issue or things I have to censor myself. But I have found that we have to be so timely with responses to things, especially like if people ask, are you guys announcing for PS Vita, or like you did announce that you were going to do PS Vita but now you're not, and then there's a bit of a conflict that I'd have to deal with. If you don't deal with it straight away, then fans get angry, and we don't want angry fans. So that's the only real way that I've not moderated but changed the way I react to fans of the game through a brand, is that we're a lot more responsive and more timely, because if we're not, people just don't like not knowing things. People I feel don't like knowing the truth sometimes, but I feel it's a lot better letting them know ASAP rather than being in the dark about things, such as, taking back announcements that we said that we would honour, for example, but we'll find a way to give back to the community in some form or another. Ken, would you say that you've got a similar kind of like responsiveness duty to your...
No. But we had the very unique position of, at the time that we released Monument Valley, the App Store was full of free-to-play games, games that were considered kind of a bit cheap and disposable. And when we came out, it was this premium experience where we asked for $4, which was this very premium price point, very controversial at the time. But us being 8 guys based in London, being paid pretty well, being funded by a larger company, we didn't need to appease fans, so we were in this very, very privileged position of not needing to pander to anybody, including our fans. Like, they would say, like, oh, give us new levels, like, give us free updates, like, keep us in the loop, and we were just like, you got the product, like, we made what we wanted to make, and, you know, if there's any updates, we'll let you know.
Yeah, right.
So, I guess for us, we were able to, like, from the get-go, create a very protective shell around us where, you know, the creative process was we were very protective over that. We didn't want to feel the pressure of, like, fans directing where we went. And actually, it turned out that the fans were very supportive of that. You know, like, when we released DLC for the price of $2, there was a lot of backlash about that. They were like, we already paid $4 for your game, we should be entitled to free updates forever. And they started giving us 0-star reviews. And then our fans, like, heard about this, and within a couple of hours on Twitter, started posting 5-star reviews. So, you know, I think that we were able to, like, gain a degree of respect from our fans through that. And, you know, I think our situation was very different from the rest of yours, but if anything, I'd say, like, don't get caught up too much in that expectation, because it can give you a really bad day.
I really do love when fans kind of like fight your fight too.
Yeah.
Because what I found is, so with Hand of Fate 2, the main character is female. The protagonist you play. In the first game, you're a male. And so when we went through the Steam forums, there had been some toxic messages from people saying, I'm not going to buy this game even though I love the first game because it's a female protagonist. And so then we had other people jump on and be like, well, don't buy the game then. It's a great game. If this is going to offend you so much, then like your opinion seems a bit invalid. Like, why would you post about that? That just doesn't seem relevant. And so like other fans just jumped on and be like, it's a great game nonetheless. Why don't you just give it a go and try it out? You know, that kind of thing. So I do love it when fans kind of fight the fight for you, and, you know, in a good way too, if they are, you know, not toxic in any way themselves, and they're just trying to, like, you know, help the developers rather than us say something.
It's also frustrating when you put in something like a female protagonist, which is a completely normal thing, and these fans think that you're pushing an agenda. It's like,
Yes, half of the population
if they
represented in like 10% of the games. I do remember Monument Valley's DLC gate. That was how I actually heard of Monument Valley in the first place. And your experience and Kim's segues into my next question. Certainly from a developer point of view, because you're releasing discrete products, but then in the case of you, where you're the product almost, through your public persona almost, how do you temper fan ownership of your identity, particularly if you've got a game and they're now saying, well, we paid for it, we want more DLC for free, or in your case, where they think they know you because they've seen you in this public sphere?
I don't know, I feel like everything, like, positive that has happened to me has been off the back of me being, as wanky as this sounds, true to myself. Because, you know, I think that's what comes across as, you know, unsurprisingly the most honest, and that's what people appreciate and respect the most. And I think you know, when I look back to that sort of early stuff when I was just trying so hard to be a certain thing that I thought a television presenter was, and that, like, a gamer chick was, I just look back at that and I cringe, and I think just relax and just talk and be honest, and you'd have a much less difficult time. There's a big, I suppose with me it tends to be a lot to do with the way I present myself physically. I get, like, people tend to take weird viewpoints on that. I have some people who are like, you'd be so much prettier without a nose ring, things like that. Or there's this one forum. This is embarrassing because it's like I've Googled myself.
We've all Googled ourselves.
There's this one forum that I keep track of every now and again, and they literally just post screenshots from everything that I've ever done, and they just repost like pictures that I've put on social media and stuff like that. And so that anytime I've worn something that has even been slightly low cut, which I don't often do because I'm kind of like self-conscious about that stuff, but if I lean forward to get out of my chair, they'll screenshot that exact moment so they can get like a hint of cleavage, and then they'll be like, yeah, like cleavage, like they wish she would like dress more like this and stuff, and then they're like, oh, I hear she can't because she has a really overprotective boyfriend, and somebody else is like, no, it's her contract with the ABC, they said that she can't like show this percentage of skin. I was like, where am I getting all this from? None of that is true. But like, I feel the way I dress like a bit of a tomboy, like I'm not big into anything particularly feminine in terms of clothes, and it's so funny that people would just like have such an opinion on the fact that the only way I could dress like this must be because some kind of oppressive forces are forcing me to do so. Like this couldn't just be the way I feel comfortable and the way I want to present myself, which it is.
From a development point of view, I have worked on games before and have tried to be really, if I can, like, I've been very open about this is my email, you can email me anytime, and I'm always, if I have time, I'll respond. And it's good and bad because it's good because it's a lot of engagement from people who are really interested in the product, but then there are those entitled people who are like, you need to be emailing me back, like, why haven't you emailed me back? And I have all these ideas for the game and blah, 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 and it's just like, you don't understand, like, I'm already working 60 hours a week, what more do you want from me? But I think that is a problem with fans kind of starting to feel entitled about how something that, you know, we're making and we're putting our blood, sweat and tears into, it's kind of starting to belong to them. And I think it's really, I prefer seeing when fans play something and interpret it in their own way, rather than them saying like, okay, feeling like they're entitled and are taking ownership of the IP. But yeah, I have gotten a lot of emails of just like, I have all these ideas and this massive list of like game design ideas, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome, you should like make your own games on like, in your own time, or go to a game jam, or go to game college, because, I mean, and then come work for us later, I guess. But yeah, it's interesting. Do you have any experiences like that?
In terms of entitled fans?
Yeah.
To be honest, like some people, what we generally face a lot of the time at Define is whether or not we're releasing on specific consoles. And when we announced that we were releasing on Xbox One but not yet on PS4, we had like a wave of PS4 players saying, what? Like, why not? Because the first game was released, and then they would talk about, you know, when will you, if will you, and we can't say, like, we're under contractual obligations to not say whether or not we're going to be releasing on the console, for example, until it's been completely signed off and announced and whatnot, but not to the extent of you should implement my design choices and whatnot. We've had some people come to us, whoa. Are we still flattering in this lighting? People have come to our support emails saying, hey, we really would love to make like our own like tabletop version of your game Hand of Fate. Can we do this? And then they'll ask all sorts of questions and whatnot in terms of, well, can you, and at one point one person said, I need this information ASAP. And I said, I'm sorry, we will get to you as soon as we can, and whatnot, because we had a staff member away that was the only person to answer that particular question. And he got a bit, I imagine, you know, I don't know the person's gender, but this person said they were angry with the fact that I didn't get back to them ASAP, and so I had to make sure that I listed, again, boundaries on when we can't respond to particular questions, because we've got a game to develop, and making games is hard, and we can't always give what our fans want. But in the end, he released the tabletop, it was a digital tabletop version of our game, like in Tabletop Game Simulator Maker, I think, on Steam. And he did fine, and everything's okay now. I just had to be like, dude, just chill, man. We got you. We're happy for you to do this, but it's going to take time. That kind of thing. So that's really only one experience.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word boundary just then.
Yeah.
And I think when we met Monument Valley, various members of the team had previously worked at larger studios. Like a lot of us had between 5 to 10 years of experience. And I think that experience had taught us how to set boundaries, like whether it was through having a bigger studio where you have, forward-facing press team or a community management team to kind of take the flak and manage that, or just like supporting each other and having a support company around us. And I think that's something that a lot of beginner developers and indie developers, maybe they haven't learned that yet, to kind of separate yourself and your sense of self and your sense of worth from necessarily what people are saying. Like from day one, we knew not to take anything on Twitter too seriously. There was obviously like really amazing positive feedback coming through, and there was also critical feedback that we listened to and that we took to heart. But I think we made sure not to let any one thing upset us, because that sense of ownership, it is important to kind of keep it to yourself and to draw a boundary, while also allowing the fans to have a sense of ownership and to celebrate it in their way. And I think Fanworks is a great way to do that. Very early on, we created a Tumblr where we would repost fan art of the game, and that was something I was really proud of. Every bit of fan art just made us feel so good. The fact that someone would go out of their way and spend their time to help celebrate our universe.
I want to open up for a couple of questions. Cara, do you have the microphone?
I got it right here.
Amazing, Cara. Okay, so does anyone have any questions?
Anybody? Just behind you.
So yeah, you said before, like, you don't feed the trolls, but what sort of advice do you give when you're on like a forum or your game developer site and getting all this negative feedback? So what kind of advice do you have for the trolls and not feeding them, I guess?
Sorry, I didn't get that very
So like, just on trolls or like negative feedback, like what kind of advice do you have to avoid it or deal with it when it's negative feedback, or on like personally like the games or X? Like,
So once you've fed the trolls, how do you deal with that?
You're never going to avoid them. They're always going to be present. But I think if it's something, I think also other people who are seeing that there's a lot of knowledge about what a troll is and how prevalent they are in any community now. So I probably wouldn't even engage with them whatsoever, unless it was anything, unless they were like slandering a team member. That might be something that I would have to take to a private message or a DM and say like, hey, what's going on? How can I help? How can I? You always have to kind of. It's really weird with these like managing people and conflict resolution, because you kind of need to make them feel like they're the victim. Like why? Like who has made you feel this way? Is there anything that we can do to help to stop this? But I think, especially from a professional standpoint, fighting fire with fire in a troll sense never really works out well.
I feel like stating facts is a good way of just diffusing situations. For example, again, with the release of our game on specific consoles, when people got really angry about that, what we said is, look, we haven't announced it yet. We knew we were going to be announcing for our game, but we just wanted to state facts that no, we have not announced, but, it's unannounced is what we used. It's unannounced, and using specific language that showed facts rather than emotion, which kind of sucks because I feel emotion is just as valid as facts. But like, from a business to person point of view, you got to make sure that you're being, for me, factual, because people can't defy facts, kind of thing. And also, I think, Justine, you're right. If it is too toxic, don't respond. Like, it's not. Sometimes it is and isn't appropriate to respond. With Steam, for example, if you're a developer trying to respond to wanting to know how to respond to a toxic post, you can always refer those people to the Code of Conduct and Guidelines of Steam Forum, for example, and leave that as is and move forward from there. That's what I would do.
I think having a support network is really important. Like having other people who are working on your game, and then other people, other game developers in your network who you can talk about this with, like, oh, I have this one fan who like always wants information, or like is giving us a hard time about this feature.
Yeah.
It kind of allows you to like blow off steam without blowing steam at the troll. And I think that's something that game developers don't talk about enough, about like, the need for emotional support, that there is emotional labor involved in this. And I feel, again, very fortunate that over the years I've accumulated a really good network of people who I can talk to about any particular issue.
And you can always tell when a tweet or a tweet reply is kind of emotionally charged and you haven't taken, if you see something that's really, it's hurt you or is damaging, you need to say, okay, shut down the computer, close the laptop, go take a walk, go talk to someone, and then when you come back you'll be in a fresh mind. And especially in a business point of view, it is extremely important to always stay professional at all times.
I'm a big fan of the block button. It's there, I use it. I think what you mentioned earlier about, and I think you as well, Ken, like often when someone says something that is troll-like behaviour, generally the community will recognise that and they'll leap to your defence for you, and you don't have to say anything all the time. So I'm much more inclined to let those people fight the wars for me, because if you engage, there's no point. I think people in the end, they're just trying to get a reaction out of you, and it's just not worth it.
Next question.
What do each of you think are some of the things that make the gaming and fan communities different from another fan group?
So what makes video game communities different from other fandoms?
That's a really good question. I think the experiences that you have in games are interactive, and so the way that you connect with them is so personal. I feel like the only thing I would liken to it is maybe music, because music affects people in a very intense and unique way. And I think games similarly, because everyone's experience with that is so unique and so personal. I think that maybe is why game fandom, you feel such an intense connection to it. And there's a lot more kind of nuance and variation there. I don't know. I suppose you can say that about anything, but for me that's been my experience.
I think games are because it's such a new technology, it means that a lot of people who are playing these games are quite internet savvy and are quite technically savvy in terms of computers itself. So that's why I think compared to any other fandom, like even movies or music or anything else, it's a very progressive fandom. And that's why a lot of people who play games, it's like these are the people who are making Reddit, and these are the people who are making things like Facebook. And that's why these social medias are so all about interactivity, and the way that Farmville just blows up because it's completely tied in with Facebook, because there was someone there that was like, people enjoy playing games even if they don't consider themselves a gamer, even if they don't realize they enjoy playing games, we can use this platform and make a ton of money off it. So I think it's very interesting to be part of a fandom and even a movement, I would say, with so many bright minds who are kind of pushing the boundaries of technology.
From an indie game point of view, especially, maybe not necessarily mobile, Ken, but at least with PC and console, in the indie space, we always, like at trade shows, the developers are at their spaces, at their booths, and we meet with our fans and we engage with them like one-to-one. And I think that's a defining characteristic for our fans, especially in the indie scene, where they get to meet the devs who made the games that they're playing. Unlike going to see the latest big AAA hit, you don't necessarily get to engage with the developers. And I think because of that, we've been able to get a stronger sense of community, especially in the indie scene, with our fans, because your fans get to meet the developers. And I think that's a really cool thing. I think it's similar to maybe wrestling as well, because like with wrestling, the superstars there get to meet up with their fans at conventions and stuff like that.
For wrestlers, it's like they're not super celebrities. They kind of got the glass ceiling in their niche. So
Yeah, right. So that's almost similar there, because it's like, are there superstars? Are there superstars who are that above that glass ceiling that are kind of like the AAA developers in games?
I guess you could like John Cena would be on like Gabe Newell's level.
Okay, right. Alright. See, yeah, you can certainly, who would have thought that we'd be drawing comparisons from John Cena to Gabe Newell? But yeah, no, I think a defining characteristics, especially in the indie scene, is that the gamers of games feel like there's more of a stronger sense of community because they're only like inches away from the developers of games that they may love.
I think like increasingly the lines are blurring between all these different fields. I mean, you know, look at GX, and it's now a gaming and geek convention. Has it always been? Or?
Yeah, it's always been.
Okay.
Although
But it's more like branding.
we've, I guess, opened up the branding a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because there is such a crossover.
Yeah, I mean, look at Comic-Con now, and Comic-Con, like, the lines are just blurred between games and comics.
And I think Supernova has like a gaming
Yeah.
section now as well, and that was originally just pop culture.
Yeah, and I think if there's any, like, from my point of view, in my experience, like, maybe a defining factor is, I feel like there's a little bit less understanding of how games are made. Well, there's a naivety where if you're not doing it as your full-time job, or if you haven't tried it, it may look like it's simple to change or fix certain things, whereas actually, you know, there are big technical or financial reasons for doing, you know, one thing or another. And I think the gaming fan communities are still kind of coming to terms with why we do things a certain way, and why AAA games are the way they are because of budgets, and why indie games are the way they are. You know, I know that there are comics and movie fans who also have very strong opinions about how a Star Wars film should be, or how, you know, a Spider-Man comic should be. So I don't know.
I think we've got time for one more question.
Hi, I just wanted to ask about how do you guys think would be a good way to cultivate a better fan base or a more positive fan base, and strategies for encouraging those more positive members of the community to become those larger voices, to kind of shape your fan base into the kind of community that you want and like. Yeah, exactly. Force of good and not evil.
I think it all has to flow down from the top. It's interesting, especially when you're part of a team that is new or may have already been established, that does have an established fan base, but when it comes to promoting diversity and cultivating this safe environment, not even a safe environment, but just this, like, these are our values. Even having a values page on the website and making sure the entire company is on board with this thing. It's not just one person who, hey, this is the company, we're making a game, and then there's like the one person who's a diversity advocate. It has to be the entire team, the whole company that's taking a stand, because that looks a lot stronger than just one person who's at a booth, you know, at a convention where everyone's like, oh, this is our game, and one person's like, you know, we're trying really hard to make sure, you know, there's non-binary characters, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, and it's very female-friendly. It does come from a lot of the community manager or the person who is speaking a lot. You want to make sure when there is that interaction, because it is very interesting when you have a person, from my experience, who is speaking to fans, saying these things and like, this is our agenda and this is what we want to push, and then they speak to someone else and they either don't talk about that whatsoever, or they say something that's conflicting, and then people get confused about, oh, is this team really, you know, all together on the same page? So I think it has to kind of all flow down from the top. The CEO has to be on board, and if you're the person who has to take it to them and have a meeting and say, you know, this is the way of the future, this is where everything's going, we need to make sure that we're on board with this movement, then that needs to, like, decisions need to be made from the highest point.
Yeah, I think lead by example. And I think for me, what I'm really hoping to do for myself is to just take a stronger stance in what I believe in and not be afraid to express those opinions, because I think maybe in the past I've been pretty passive. I recently clicked on, there was like an insights thing on Instagram. For the first time I saw from the followers that I have, it's 70% dudes, which I was a little bit shocked about, but then I kind of thought about it and I was like, well, you know, what a great platform then to use that opportunity to spread a message about equal rights and representation and all of the values that are important to me, because if a lot of these sort of young boys then, you know, and if they look up to me in any shape or form, then what a great opportunity I have to be able to send a positive message.
I don't really think I have much to say about that. I don't know, I just try to do my thing and actually not pay a tremendous amount of attention.
Well, it helps that you're a good person.
I'm glad you say that.
He charges $2 for DLC.
I played that
It's not
DLC.
that good.
It was well worth it.
I mean, the thing is, fans don't really know if I'm a good person. I know that. I know that they're responding to my art and not myself, and that's a different thing. And so, I don't know. I try to put good art into the world.
Extrapolate on that, because that's a really good point. Fans don't know your personality, but my input would be to fans, just remember that these are human beings. Like, everybody is still a person at the end of the day, and this, I think, goes useful into everything from the waiter who's upsetting you at a restaurant to the underpaid person at the Centerlink phone line who's not helping you out. Like, ultimately, everybody's still just trying to get through what they can get through at their own strength level. And being on television or having a lot of followers on Instagram doesn't make those interactions any easier. So I would just say to the fans, keep that in mind, that, you know, it's as stressful for everyone up here as it is for the fans who want their Hand of Fate 4 on PS Pro 5, whatever it will be by then.
I will say that by and large, there are way more positive fans than negative ones in my experience. And like, you might feel the negative ones more, but you know, if you take a step back, you're like, actually, our fans are tremendous, and they'll stick with you, because they, you know, if they're a true fan and you've connected with them, then they'll want to help you out and support you.
I think you'd all probably also agree that it's the good fans that, I mean, there's a reason why you're all still in this industry, isn't it? And it's the positive interactions that you have with people. So if you want advice, don't be an ass and make them feel loved.
Those interactions you have at convention booths, if you just go over and play a bit and even saying something like, wow, this is amazing, or, you know, this really brightened up my day, you may think that, you know, it's just a passing comment on something as you go to the next game, but that really sticks with the developer, and that's something that, you know, it's hard when you're doing the daily grind of working so hard and putting in so much time to make a game, but coming to conventions and interacting with fans is usually the reason why it's like, that's right, that's why I'm doing this.
All right, I think that's going to wrap us up. So thank you all so much. Thank you to the panelists for sharing their experience.